to load the data, right? Transform,
Yes.
transform if required, and then we'll understand a few more things gradually, right? So this is
Okay.
our Power BI desktop. I'll just get into transform data. I'll bring in some relevant data sets which are related to some healthcare data, right? I'll just take some Excel workbook and okay, so I can just choose all files and they are CSV files but not Excel files. So I'll just choose the CSV files, click open,
Okay.
and so there is no much, it is clean data, so there is no much cleaning required. I'll just load the data and show you each and every file so that you'll be able to get some understanding. So I'll quickly load the data which is present, and even you can see the preview. It is not any complex data set, but enough good data set to understand many things. Okay, we'll bring few more things quickly. Okay, so these are few, these are few things which you could see, right, related to the data, right? Cities, departments. Okay, cities we have city ID, city and state. Departments we have department ID and department. Diagnosis we have diagnosis ID and diagnosis. Insurance we have insurance ID and provider. Patients we have patient ID, patient name, gender, age, city ID and race. Procedures we have what is a procedure and procedure ID. In providers we have some five providers and their respect, the doctors, images as well, and some relevant information. Next thing is we have some visits information where we can find date of visit, patient ID, provider ID, right? Department ID, diagnosis, right? And like all the relevant foreign keys which are relevant to other tables we have. Apart from that, we have few more columns. Like for example, we have what is the service type, whether it is outpatient, emergency, or inpatient. We have some treatment cost details, medication cost details, some satisfaction score which has been given, emergency visit which is no or yes. Yes means we it is no, it is emergent. No means it is non-emergency, right? So what we can do is we can just to try to transform things. Click on replace values. Yes means it is emergency, and I'll just click on replace values. No means it is non-emergency. I'll click OK. So we have some payment status, discharge date, admitted date, right? Multiple columns we have. We can do a lot of analysis regarding that. So what I'll do is I'll try to show you some brief analysis which may be useful. I'll close and apply. The data will be loaded to our Power BI desktop.
Okay.
So I'll click on file. I'll click on save as. I'll save it on my device. So I can call it as some healthcare analysis. Right. I'll save that PBX file. It is saved. Now, if we get into this model view, by default, the auto detect feature of the relationships is ship is turned on. So we can see that it is a star schema. Okay. So these are all our dimension tables, which has one to many relationships. And this is our fact table, which has that many relationship. And these are all our dimensions, right? and you can see that cities is our sub dimension table, which is connected by the city id. If you want to verify the relationships, you can just click on this, and you can just verify if these are appropriate, then we can move ahead and do some analysis. For example, if we are sure that okay, visits is our fact table, we need to ensure that relevant table is properly connected or not. So I could see that relevant table is properly connected, and patients table is also connected to the cities table based upon city id. So other tables are fine. Apart from that, if I just go to my table view, see that visits table, I have some date related column, right? So whenever I have some date related column to do some time intelligence analysis, what would I require? Calendar table. Okay, so in order to create that, I'll create a new table.
Okay.
So here I'll just create my calendar table. Calendar is equal to, I can write add columns, right? So here there could be little confusion that what is the range of time between which I have to make the calendar table, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as per the data, we could understand, like if at all you are aware of it, then it is good. But if you are not aware of it, what you can do is you can just use this function called as calendar auto. Okay, so
Okay.
it will automatically pick that necessary dates which are present, and it will help you to bring all the dates which are present. And from these columns, add columns is the table manipulation function where I can create the table. Okay, so this is my table expression. So I'll add few more columns for it. For example, if I want year column, I'll name it as year. Function is year of date column. So this particular square brackets one, it is my date. Similarly,
Okay.
I can press shift enter, and then I can make further other columns. For example, I can make month. So all these could help in our time intelligence related analysis. I can take this date column and close the parenthesis. Similarly, we can bring something called month name. We can use format function, bring the date related column, put a comma. We can give the format just like month space year and close the parenthesis. Similarly, we can write year month. I can format. I can write date year month. I can bring this particular year month in this format so that I can sort the month name column. Right, and I'll just bring few more columns related to date quickly. Quarter, I can bring the quarter using format. I can write date. I can put a comma here in double quotes. I can write backslash q and q. What it does is it will consider the first q as a text, next q as the quarter. Right, I can create few more columns. Suppose I want, okay, this is not my month name, it is month year. So here I can just create month name. So we can use format again, date, and I can just put m 3 times so that I can get that month name. Let us create some week related functions, right? Suppose weekday is equal to, I can use that format again. I can use date, and I can use that d triple time so that I can get the weekday. If I want something called week number, I can use like this, where I can use that weekday function, get that week date column, and I can just format it. Even just by default, even if we take it is fine. Okay, no need to change the return types. What I'll do is I'll take week type. I can use some if condition. Okay, for example, if my weekday of date it is equal to 1, this pipe symbol is an or condition. Okay, so if my weekday is 1, or else if my weekday is 2, okay, so what I want, it is weekend, otherwise it is weekday. I'll explain this. don't worry. And I'll close the parenthesis. Okay, so these functions, it would be sufficient for me. Maybe if we want, if you want, you can just add more, and I'll just try to execute it. Okay, just commit. It will create your calendar table like this. Now, if you want to sort this particular month year, you can select this column, go to sort by column, select that year month. So it will sort the data just based upon the year month. Next thing is the date column. You can just select this date column, change it to date data type. And if you see here, all it is weekdays, right? And if you just see, check for weekend, right? If I uncheck this weekend, you can see, okay, so, okay, this is weekend, right? Monday, weekday of date. So what are the days which is taken, which it has taken as, right? Monday,
So
Sunday,
weekend means Monday is considering as one.
yes, yes. So no, Sunday is considered as one,
8.
and okay.
Okay.
So in that, instead of telling one or two, I should say one on seven. Okay.
Yeah.
So that it will be correct. Now if you see this, Saturday and Sunday are weekends, right? So
Yes.
Saturday it is, you can call it as Sunday it is one, Saturday it is seven.
Fine.
Okay, so our calendar table is fixed. Now if we get back to the model view, our calendar table is not yet related to this particular visits table. So what we can do is we can just do connect it. For example, we have date, this calendar table. Mandatorily what we should do is we should mark it as a date table. I can click on these three dots, click on this mark as date table, turn it on, choose the date column, validate it and save. So once it is marked as date table, it will help us do further analysis better way. And here, if you could see, we have multiple dates: discharge date, date of visit, admitted date, and so on. So for now, temporarily, I can just make that relationship with the date of visit. You can see that date of visit, I'm selecting it, one to many relationship, click on save. So if you want to deal with, multiple other things, then you may be, able to connect with, you may be use, you can use that particular use relationship, and you can create, you could say, virtual relationships, right? And in order to create that, if at all you require, you need to create inactive relationships just by relating to the other dates. Here you can't make it active at one time. You can make only one particular date active, right? So if you want further, you can just even join it with admitted date, select, okay, so you can select this particular admitted date. I can click on save. So similarly, you can just choose the respective dates, and it is absolutely fine. So this is our model. I hope it is understandable. And these are our like data tables. Whatever we have, dimension tables, and visits is our fact table, right? And it is our, you could say, snowflake schema. It becomes star schema if at all we don't have this city schema table, right? And okay, suppose that we'll bring some KPIs. So this is our canvas where we can work. We'll bring some KPIs so that we'll, try to understand some important things, right, about the data. For example, to understand briefly about, the KPIs, or you could say metrics which are relevant, we have seen different costs involved, right? So for example, as a analyst or someone, if you may require to see the important related to related to cost and, other things, right? Or room charges or billing amount, how much it is, the important key performance metrics we can derive. So how do we derive? By making measures, right? And to make measures, it is always a good practice to keep that measures table separately. So what I'll do is I'll click on this enter data. I'll name this particular table as measures table. I'll click on load. Okay, so this particular measures table, it is being created here. I can select that particular table. I can click on new measure. So I can write some measures over here. For example, if I want to calculate something like medication cost, so I'll write something called as medication cost, or we can call it as total medication cost. We can write sum of medication cost, right? Simple aggregation. Next, I'll create one more measure. Suppose I want total treatment cost. I can write total treatment cost is equal to sum of treatment cost, right? They are simple measures, yet it will be useful, right? Suppose I want to see total insurance covered. I can write sum of insurance coverage in visits table, right? And if I want something related to total room charges, I can calculate the room charges in right. For calculating room charges, I have some data to calculate the daily rate and multiply it by the room charges. If I see this data, for example, here I have the room charges detail, right? Here I have the daily rate of room charges, and I have the details where the data of visit I have, right? Okay, I have the details where when the customer is discharged and when the person is admit, like when the patient is admitted and when the patient is discharged. To calculate the number of days, right? To calculate the number of days that person stayed here in the hospital, I can calculate it. I can create a new column. So I can call it as something called length of stay. For example, I can take the date difference. I use the date difference function. I can write this particular date difference. So we have three parameters. Okay, date one, date two, and interval. In the date one, you need to write the column which is being subtracted, right? For example, if you just try to see these two columns, which is admitted and this discharge date. So I can bring that admitted first, right? And I can bring that discharge date next. The reason is that particular specified date must lie in this specified manner. You could understand this is date from which we subtract this. And what is the interval we want? We want the interval in day. So this is my date difference. If I just hit enter, you can see the error, right? The reason of error is you could understand if you click on this particular discharge date, the data type is text. What you need to do is change it to date. Click on that, change the data type. So here you'll see the error, right? So you won't be able to change here. You can go to home, click on transform data, go to visits. If you scroll to the right, here we have something called admitted date and this date, right? So if you see these two are in data types, right? Different wrong data types. I can select that, choose the date, select this and choose the date. And then we can close and apply. Okay, so here we can understand the length of stay. Now if I open the drop down, you'll be able to see that length of stay ranges between 1 to 9 days. Some blanks will be there because they are not admitted, so they are not discharged, right? So that is a default, by default it is understandable. Suppose in these are 9 particular days, right? Suppose I wanted to group this particular category of people. So how can I group that? I can just click on this particular new column. I can make a group of them, right? How can I make a group? I can use switch function and I can create a group. For example, length of stay group, some random column I can give. What I'll do is I'll create a variable where I'll call this, uh, I'll call it as stay. So for this stay, we can take the difference, right? We can take the difference. We'll take that admitted date, discharge date, and then we can take the difference in day. So this is our previous measure which we have taken. Suppose I'll create another variable which where we can call it as result, and I'll write result is equal to, I'll write a function called switch. So switch, what it does, based upon condition it will switch the relevant things. So in the expression I'll write something called true. Okay, so if my stay is equal to 1, I want something like this, I'll call it as 1 day, right? If my stay is equal to, or you can call it as less than or equal to 4, I'll call it as 2 to 4 days. If my stay is less than or equal to 7, I can call it as 5 to 7 days, right? In this way you can just categorize them. Else if you want, all other things, it is 8 plus days, so I can call it as 8 plus days, right? And I can just close the quotes, I can close the parenthesis, and what I can do is I can write the return clause. Return, here I'll write an if condition. If my stay is equal to blank, okay, if there is, if the stay is blank, then I want nothing. Okay, I'll just put double quotes. Otherwise what I want the result, right? So what we have done, we took that, difference in admitted date and discharge date. Based upon switch condition we have just made it some into some group. If that particular stay is blank, then I want only the blank values, otherwise I want result. I can commit it. Okay, so it is under, I hope it is understandable. Then if you can see here, you can just scroll to the right. If I just open drop down, you can see here I have 1 day, 2 to 4 days, 5 to 7 days, and 8 days respectively. That could help me in bringing some more insights. And one more thing, here we were trying to create that room charges, right? Now if I understand how to calculate room charges, I can use sum x. Now what is the table which we want, right? The table which we have, it is visits table, right? This is our facts table, fact table. In the expression, I'll bring my daily rate multiplied by length of stay. Okay, so this simple expression, it would help us calculate room charges. Okay, I'll just create few more measures. For example, if I want to calculate something called billing amount, so I'll calculate billing amount like this. Total billing amount is equal to medication cost, right, plus treatment cost plus room charges. Okay, if I hit enter, so all the summation of these three different charges, you can call it as billing, total billing amount. Suppose you want to calculate what is the amount that went out of the pocket from the person, you can create a new measure. So we can just mention something like out of pocket. So you can just mention something like this: total billing amount minus total insurance covered, right? So this is the amount which is went out of the pocket from the patient, right? So this is how we can use, we can calculate all these things. So similarly, all these measures which you can see, they are relevant to something called as total relevant, like total measures, right? Suppose if I can just categorize this, what I can do is I can just go to this model view. I can select all these things, press control and select all these things, open properties. In the display folder, I can hit total. So what happens is it will make a folder for me just where it can align that all the total measures. Similarly, I can just create few more measures which are relevant to the average values. For example, I'll create something like average insurance coverage. Average insurance coverage. I can write average of insurance coverage column, right? Similarly, I can just quickly write few more measures which are related to average. Suppose I want average length of stay. I can write average of length of stay. I can click on more. I can click write something called average medication cost, average of medication cost. I can click on new measure, average satisfaction score is equal to, I can write average of patient satisfaction score, right? Average treatment cost, average treatment cost, it is equal to average of, I can call it as treatment cost and hit enter, right? Suppose I want to calculate average billing amount per visit. Okay, so how would I calculate average billing amount per visit is equal to, I can divide, right? I can divide, what should I divide? Total billing amount, right? I can divide it with total patients. So in order to calculate total patients, we'll create one more measure. Okay. So how do we okay, let me create one more new measure. Okay. Total patients is equal to, we can use that distinct count. In that visits table we have patient id. Okay, so I can take the distinct count of patient id in that table. Okay, I can just make, I can rearrange later on, but in this average billing I can just divide it with something called total patients here, right? If I divide it, I can just get some get into that particular right, a particular value. Next, we have few more things. For example, average out of pocket values. I can create new measure. Average out of pocket values. Right? How can we calculate? We can divide out of pocket with something called total patients. Right? So we can get that average out of pocket values. Similarly, we can calculate average room charges. Average room charges is equal to divide total room charges by total patients. Close the parenthesis and hit enter. Similarly, other things will gradually calculate. So let us bring some important measures which are into our canvas so that we can visualize that in a particular format, right? So other things will calculate and understand and make some changes gradually. Let us figure out these things. Okay, for some basic measures, what I'll do is I'll just create few more things. For example, I'll just click on new measure. Okay, so here I'll write something called total visits. Total, how many visits are there? How can I get that? I can count rows, right? Of which table? Visits table. I can get this count rows. Now by mistake this is being created in calendar table. How to change it to measure table? I can select this home table and change it to measures table. Now it is brought into this particular measures table, right? Similarly, I can just create one more measure which is relevant to total outpatients. So how do we calculate total outpatients? Okay, so here we can do something like count blank so that it will create calculate the blank values where those who didn't stay, right? So I can just take that length of stay column, right? Where it is blank, I can get the total number of outpatient people. Okay, so total admitted people if I want, how can I calculate? I can take this total visits, right, minus total outpatient. I can get that particular totally how many people are admitted, right? So these are few things where you could understand how to calculate the necessary things, and we'll understand few more things gradually, like as we move on to reporting. Okay, so far, are you able to follow? Yes. Okay. Next, we'll see few more things. For example, this is our canvas. Okay, so we can just format it a little, or you can. I'll just bring some, bring all those things, and later we can format. So I'll just bring a header, right? I'll just write something called healthcare analysis, healthcare data analysis, or something. You can just use your own name, which is appropriate. What I can do is I can bold. I can just make it into some different color like blue. I can just increase its size to maybe 20. Okay, so what I can do is I can just keep it in the middle, right? If you drag here, you can see this red line. You can just keep it middle align, right? So here you can just see this. This is our canvas, and what we shall do is we shall take a new text card. Okay, this is our new text card. What we shall do is we shall bring our data, right? For example, what are the important things for us? For us, for example, total billing amount is important. Okay, it is 3 million. Total medication, it is important. Total treatment, right? Total insurance covered. Out of pocket, how much money is went, right, from the patient. And what are the total room charges, right? Total room charges, right? If you see, we have to scroll down for it, right? We have to scroll down for it in order to see all the values. So in order to make it in one particular row, we can go to layout. In this particular maximum card shown, I'll just keep it to 6, right? Then it will show me all the values, right? If you want to change the names, you can change the names here, but I'll just keep it same because it is understandable. Next, what I need to do, I can go to format. Okay, so here I can just go to call out values. If I scroll down, I have something called label. Okay, in this label, you can just, uh, like change few things if at all you want to make that label understandable. I want to bold, I can just bold it, right? If at all I want to change that particular size of it, I can change. For example, values, I see a lot of size, right? What I can do is I can click on call it values, right? For this values, I can just change it to maybe 25. I'll keep it. So it has reduced the size, and the rest of the size I can just align it also. Okay, so I'll just show you a few more things. Click on reference label. Here I can refer that particular label. For example, for total billing amount, I have that average billing amount per visit, right? So I can bring that measure over here. So you can see I can see the value over here. If I want to custom the title, what I can do is I can just try to, okay, select that particular average billing amount per visit, select this custom name. Here what I can do is I can go to the end and I can just put some colon over here and space, so that it will bring that colon over here and space, and I can just even bold it, right? Or else if you want to bold that value only, then what you can do is what you can do is you can bold that value and you can just turn off like uncheck that, right? This, it will highlight the values. Similarly, what you can do is change this particular, okay, now change this particular total billing amount to medication cost. You can bring average medication cost here, right? Go to values, just bold it. Okay, so similarly we can just make some changes. I can just change this to treatment cost. Average treatment cost I can bring here. I can just bold the value, right? It can show me the value, right? Here, for example, like I'll just show you later, but here we want something called total insurance. I can click on this total insurance. Here, average insurance covered, right? And I can scroll down, make it bold. Similarly, I can have that out of pocket, out of pocket. I can just bring that average out of pocket value and bold it. And room charges, I can bring average room charges here and I can just bold the value, right? So these are few things where you can just make. And if you see this label, if possible, we'll try to correct that, right? We have label, whether we'll see if it is under, like if it is correctable. I can I can select this particular total insurance covered. For label, maybe if I could reduce the size to 15, or what I can do is, no, I'll just go keep it as 25 only, not a problem. What I'll do is I'll try to text wrap, right? So what it does is it text wraps. Suppose, okay, now it is okay. Now it is understandable, right? Now it is visible as well. So you are now able to see all these values. You can just even reduce the size if at all you want. You can just keep it like this, right? Now if at all you want to make some formatting, what you can do is you can just try to turn off the background. Okay, just to make the formatting together, what we can do is we can set some light background. Okay, so I'll reduce the transparency. I'll keep a background like this. Okay, so for this what I can do, I can just remove the background, so it will look like this. Okay, these are some square shaped boxes. So if I want to change that particular cards, select the cards, change it to rounded rectangle, and I can just customize it to maybe 8. Okay, so it looks only little smoother. I can select that. If I want glow and multiple things, I can just bring that glow. It is not good. I can bring shadow, not good, right? Accent bar I can bring, right? So accent bar I can bring, increase the width. Okay, maybe it is looking better, right? So in this way, you can bring all the important KPIs like this and make some good, you know, good metrics out of it, right? So let us try to bring few more values, like few more visuals which could bring add value to this report. For example, let us make a location, right? Let us bring a map. So here what I can do is I have multiple things, right? I have city and state, right? City and state together we won't be able to bring it here, right? Either we can bring city or state. If I want to choose both the things, we can use parameters. Okay, first let me show you. Here if I want location, I can go to cities. I can select city, and you can see automatically it has picked up the respective cities. And if at all I want to bring some, something like something into this bubble size, okay, maybe related to total billing amount, I can bring that. Total total billing amount, I can bring that. Okay, so it will show me billing amount, like based upon the city. Suppose if I want to see that, state wise also, if you add this to hierarchy, then it would be different. Okay, so either you need to drill down like this or drill up, right? So this won't be much compatible, right? So what you can do is you can just use something called parameter. Okay, so this parameter would help you. For example, go to modeling, click on parameter, click on fields. You can call it as location parameter. Okay, from cities, what I'll do is I'll bring that city column and I can bring state column, add a slicer. So this will add a slicer for me. I can go to slicer settings, format it to tile. So this is a bigger tile for me. I can just make it minimal like this. I can keep it here. I can turn off the header, turn off background, right? And other things I can, little highlight and all, do all those things. I'll just keep it by default. Okay. Now it is not interactive. Okay. What we need to do is I need to remove this in location. I can bring this particular location parameter. Now what happens is you can see this. If I select state, it will select the states. If I select city, it will select the city, right? And in this particular visual, if I just see here, you have multiple tooltips, right? If you want to see all the tooltips, you can just bring all those tooltips here, right? Not at all a problem. You can just see all the values, and even you can like bring all that measures and see, right? If I hover on this, right, you can see all the values, and you see the title increased, right? You can turn off the title, right? You click on state, you hover on that, you'll get all the details. Hover on that, you get all the details, right? And I hope it is good to go. I'll just try to keep it like this so that it is good to see, right? Okay, we have one good understandable visual. We'll try to bring few others. Okay, for example, based upon the procedure, okay, we'll see few more columns. For example, I'll try to more analyze upon this billing amount so that you could understand. What I'll do is I'll just take a column chart. Okay, so here I'll take this column chart, and what I'll do is here I have multiple departments, right? So department wise, suppose I wanted to see that total billing amount, I can bring the department. Okay, and here in that y axis, I'll bring something called total billing amount. Okay, so now if you see this, I need to customize this, or you could say format it. I can turn on the data labels, right? And suppose that data labels, it is in 0.85 millions and so on. Title, I can just keep it center align. Y axis title I don't want. Even values I don't want. X axis title I don't want. Values I want. Background I'll remove, right? And suppose I want to, of course I'll keep the background, but I'll just change it to a little darker color like this, maybe, right? Or else what I'll do is the background itself I'll make it little darker, and this one I'll try to make it little lighter. Okay, so that it could be highlighted. Okay, I hope it is good. Now what I'll do is I'll try to round the corners. I can turn on this particular visual border, choose the same color so that it doesn't match, and I can just keep some rounded corners of 10, right? Just like this. I can just change some bar colors, right? Columns I can change it to some darker color like this. It will appear better. And data labels, what I can do is I can go to values. I can change this to something called thousands, right? You can see this thousands is better and understandable, right? And you can just keep that chart like this to that minimal level where it can accommodate the values, right? And you can just adjust the space so that you can fit in more visuals, right? For example, just similarly to departments, you have multiple diagnoses also, right? So what I'll do is I'll just copy this visual so that I don't require much formatting efforts. Okay, so instead of department, what if I can bring, okay, I'll just select here. Instead of department, I'll bring something called diagnosis. Okay, so there are 5 different types of diagnosis. What I can do is I'll just change it to different chart so that you can see 5 different things. Now I can format a little in labels, right? Go to data labels, select values. Okay, you can position that to outside end so that this also will be at outside end. I can just align it properly till here so that it will be proper, right? And suppose, okay, here it is good, right? Not a problem. Okay, what we'll do is, for example, this is department wise, right? Suppose I want, percentage values. So how do we calculate percentage values? We need to divide, right? We need to divide billing amount with all the departments, right? I mean the total value. So how do we calculate that? Suppose I'll click on this new measure. Okay, so if I want percentage department values, okay, so I can write divide total billing amount, and here I can write calculate. In expression I can write total billing amount, and I can bring something related to, like I can remove the filters on which table, departments, right? I can close the parenthesis and hit enter, right? These are in percentage terms. So what I can do is I can just click on this percentage. Okay, now what I'll do is, for this particular visual, if I just scroll down and if I scroll down here, I have details, right? If I just turn it on, I can just bring some more details, right? For suppose I'll bring this department, right? You can see this. I can just turn it, make it to none. It will show me that 100% values, right? But it is not correct. So what we can do is we shall change it a little. Okay. Okay. I'll show you how to change. Okay. This is with respect to diagnosis, right? Okay. Let us change that particular this thing. I'll just keep it as diagnosis. Okay. And this one I'll just keep it as diagnosis. Even we can make it for department also, not a problem. Let me spelling, you can just ignore diagnosis, right? GNOSIS, right? Okay, so this thing, you have this percentage values here itself, right? Total value and the percentage value. Suppose you want to keep it distinct, right? What you can do is you can just position it different, right? For example, you just position it at inside end, completely it will go to the inside end. So to avoid this, like of course it is also good only. Percentage terms it is understandable. I'm not denying. But if at all you want to little make it better, so what you can do is, suppose you can just create some blank measure. Okay, I can create some blank measure. I'll call it as 0. Okay, so what you can do is, in this particular visual, you can bring this blank measure on the top. Okay, in y-axis, right? Okay, so here you can see that, let us forget about data labels. Okay, I'll just turn off the details. I'll just remove it. Now you can see that multiple things are there, right? So what you can do is, okay, you can just try to bring that blank measure over here, right? So okay, you can see these values, right? Now if I just turn on the labels, if I select this blank measure, okay, in that blank measure, what I want is, I want to see that active, what is that active value of diagnosis. Okay, so what I can do is I can create one more measure for active related diagnosis. Okay, active diagnosis, I can write selected value, which will pick that automatically, selected value, and diagnosis from the diagnosis table. So what I can do is, since I took that, I can bring that particular, instead of blank measure, I can bring that active measure, active diagnosis. Okay, so instead of all blank measure I have, right, in detail, okay, let me little sort it out. So you have this blank measure, right, inside, and you can call it as auto. Now you can see that we can get this particular, diagnosis on the top of values, right? Now what I can do is I can turn off those tight like x-axis, y-axis labels, values. I can turn it off. Now you can see the values over here. Okay. Now what you can do is I can go to that particular blank measure, turn on the detail. Now I can bring that percentage diagnosis over here. You can see those values over here and these values over here, right? And even other things are fine. Legends you can turn it off, right? Legends you can turn it off, not required. And in the title also you can just remove this blank measure and this thing, right? You can just keep it only total billing amount, just this much. If you keep, it is absolutely fine, right? In this way you can just customize your, visual, which could be little effective. But again, if you see this, if I am decreasing the size, it is not able to show me the respective values, right? You need at least this much height in order to show all the values. Okay, for example, if I just can keep the color same, I'll go to formatting, go to the bars. Okay, so here you're not able to see the color, right? Okay, I can change this color to maybe this color. Okay, so now we are able to see the same color. Now this one, for example, if I want the percentage diagnosis with respect to department, what I can do is I can just click on new measure, click on department, percentage department. Here I can write, just change one thing. What is the one thing? You can just change this particular to something called as departments. Okay, so I can select this. What I can do is I can just go to this, go to data labels, turn on the details. Here you can add the data to that department, right? Now we can just go to display units and keep it none, and just select this, change it into percentage terms, right? And position, what you do is you shall just, you can keep it at outside end, so that it will show the values at outside end for each and every value, right? And it is also appropriate. So in this way you can just try to customize all the relevant things, right? Similarly, if you want to understand few more things relevant to that, even insurance provider, okay, let us take some pie chart, or else let us copy this chart. Okay, make it into a pie chart. Okay, I'll just take away this particular, this thing, bring in something called insurance provider. So we have three different insurance providers, or else let us take something called as procedures. Okay, we have five different procedures. I can just change it to donut chart. Okay, and what I can do is I can just change that legends to maybe top. Okay, and even if at all I don't like that, what I can do is I can turn off the legends, go to detail labels, click on this category percentage total. You can just get like this, right? And this is also like a better thing to bring all that relevant values, right? What you can do is you can even change to all detail labels, and you can just keep it aligned, right? So similarly, if you want to mention few more things, you can just try to keep it here. We can we can bring more things, right? For example, if I want the diagnosis, okay, so based upon the you could say service type. Okay, in visits I have something called service types. I'll go to visits table. You can see service something called service type based upon emergency, inpatient and outpatient. What I'll do is I'll just take some chart called 100% stacked bar chart. Okay, here you can just see this. Instead of procedure, what I'll do is I can bring something called as diagnosis, right? Okay, I have got the diagnosis here, and in x-axis what I can do is I can bring the total billing amount, right? Okay, so here we can see that we shall bring some legends, right? In that legend we can bring that service type. Now we can see that values are in wrong terms. What I can do is I can just go to data labels, go to like you can just go to mm, unit percentage terms, right? You can go to details, right? You can customize here, right? Where data labels, this should automatically fix, right? So what you can do is you can just bring that particular like percentage value, calculate the percentage values, and also bring. Let me show you, right? So what we shall do is for this particular visual, we shall bring that total amount, all these things, right? Format, we should format it. Let me turn off that y-axis title. Let me turn off that x-axis title, right? We can turn on the data labels. Okay, let us do one thing. We'll keep this particular, we'll bring the labels on instead of percentage totals. We'll bring these labels. Later, you can fix that percentages values. In what I'll do is I can just what you can do is I can just go here. I can right click on this, show values as percentage of grand total, right? But again, it is not getting fixed, right? You can turn it on. Here you don't have that, right? Okay, so it is just something related to formatting here. You can just fix it up quickly. Just struck somewhere. Okay, let us not try to bring that date, show as grand total. I'll just bring only that particular details, right? billing amount, I'll bring it into x-axis. Okay, so it will show me the values. For now, I'll just keep it. Try to figure out. We'll try to figure out the percentage terms. I'll just turn off the x-axis as well values, so that it should show me the particular values. Here I want legends. I need to turn on the legends so that we could understand what is this legends, right? And it will be helpful for a better understanding of this contribution of different service type and the respective total billing amount, right? And to keep these colors little better, what you can do is you can just change those colors, right? What I can do is I can go to bars, right? I can select this particular outpatient, change that particular color to maybe little different ones, right? Maybe little different ones. I'll select this particular emergency, change it into little lighter. Lighter one will not work, right? Okay, maybe this is little better than that, right? Or else what we can do is for emergency, we'll keep that little better ones. For outpatient, we'll keep that little grayer ones, right? Right, maybe little better. Just to bring some more slicers in this particular report, you can just bring some important slicers, maybe related to other things, right? If you want to select it based upon the city and other things, you can just bring that. For example, you can just bring a slicer like this. You can just go to format, slicer settings, change it to drop down. So I can just keep it minimal so that you'll be able to customize it. You can just keep it like this. These two slicers, I can just bring this as state, right? What I can do is I can just format, turn off the background, and values, I can turn on the background here, just keep it little white, right? Similarly, I can just turn off the background here. Values, I can just turn on the background, right? Just like this, we can just keep it, right? So here we can just filter based upon the state. It will filter all the values, right? In this way, we can just try to customize few things and analyze, right? We'll try to understand few more things related to the data, right? We have almost try to understand many things. uh so far, do we have like, do anyone have any queries whatever I have shown you? Is it understandable, everyone?
Yes, it is a very good group session, and and I have understood very much. And
Okay, so there are few more things. I will like, please wait for few more minutes, we'll understand few more things. Okay.
sure, sure.
Okay, I'll just duplicate this page so that I don't lose the formatting. What I'll do is I'll just remove this all KPIs. We'll do some other kind of analysis over here. For example, I have a new slicer. Okay, I have this new slicer where I have some providers information in the table. Okay, so here I'll just remove all these charts. Okay, I do not require this. I do not require this. Okay, we'll try to customize other things later on. So here I have this something called as provider, right? If you see here, providers, I have provider ID, name, gender, nationality, all these things. So what I can do is I can just bring few more things like here. Maybe this is a new slicer where I can bring images, right? So in this particular slicer, I want something called as provider name. This is provider name. I'll bring it here. I'll go to format. In the layout, I'll keep it. There are 5 doctors. I'll just keep it. Number of rows shown. I'll keep it only one. Columns I want 5, right? So that it could arrange like this. Then what I want is I want in the images I'll bring that image column. I'll select that image, change this particular thing to image URL so that it will identify the image URL. I'll turn off the title. In the image, I can just bring that particular image column into the image data, right? You can see the values like this. You can just try to rearrange like this. It will be better visible. Or else you can just fit it to the, wherever you can resize it, it will fit accordingly. Suppose I'll just keep it like this, okay? So that you can slice. So it is a slicer. You'll just keep it like this. So what we'll do is we have some, score which is available for them, or I could say patient satisfaction score. What I can do is I can just calculate that, okay? So I'll just show you how to calculate that. Or you can say even you can format it. For example, I'll just try to create one more measure, create a new measure. I'll write something called as average. You could say average rating, okay, something like that. What I'll do is I'll write average x. We have this some iterator function where I can write values of provider ID, right? So that it will take that individual data and I can calculate. What do you want to calculate? Average of satisfaction score, right? I can close this parenthesis, right? What I can do is here I can just close this parenthesis here. I can just put a comma here, right? This is appropriate. I'll take this as a variable, okay? I can call it as variable and I can call it as something like rating is equal to something like this. I can write some return clause where I can write I need this particular value to be mentioned, right? So I'll write average rating. I'll concatenate with format. Okay, so let us suppose that this is my rate. I need to format the rating and in 0.00 terms, right? 0.00 terms. Okay, this would be my return output. So now what I can do is I can just select this particular, I hope this measure is understandable. I can select this particular slicer, go to format. I have something related to call out values, right? You can turn on the label on the bottom. You can bring that particular average rating here. You can see average rating is now available. You can make it bold, right? Now this is an individual slicer. You can see data will interact and this is our new slicer, right? We can do lot many things with this, but again we'll try to analyze a few things, okay? For example, if I want to calculate few things related to how many percentage of values is emergency, how much percentage of values is not emergent, we can calculate those, right? So before that, what I'll do is I'll try to show you that particular column here in the particular visits table. Okay, so we have some column which is related to emergency visit. We have this emergency and non-emergency. Okay, let me create a measure to calculate. Like we have already calculated total admitted, all these values, right? So based upon those admitted outpatient and visits, we'll try to make a switch slicer kind of thing. Okay, so okay, we'll do that. Let us make a line chart to understand few things about it. About what? Total visits, outpatient, and total admitted. So multiple measures. If I want to use it at single place, what can I do? Just like earlier, I can create something called as parameter, right? I can go to new fields, click on fields. Here I can call it as line parameter or something like that. In the measures, I can bring some total visits, total outpatient, total admitted. Click on create. Right. So this one I'll just change it to tile. Turn off this header. I can just enlarge it like this. Reduce its size. Keep it here. Next, what I'll do is I'll just try to. Okay, what I'll do is based upon the time period, if I want, I can just make one more measure. Click on this modeling. Click on fields. Suppose from the calendar table, I'll take year, month name, quarter. Okay, quarter, month name, weekday. We'll understand week type. Okay, so multiple things I want to create, and I'll call it as calendar parameter. Okay, I can click on create. So these are a few things. I can make it also a tile, and you can see it is vertically aligned, right? I can turn off this, so you can just select this. Here it is understandable, right? Now I can customize this little. For example, in the x-axis, what I can do, I can bring something related to that calendar parameter, right? I'll open the calendar parameter to bring into x-axis, right? In y-axis, I can bring something called line parameter. Okay, now you can see multiple things. If I select total visits, so I can just see the values, right? So I can select this chart, turn on the data labels. Okay, turn off the particular background. You can see the values, right? Turn off y-axis, turn off x-axis, title, right? And if you want the values, you can bold it so that you could understand. Y-axis also you can bold the values, right? And title it middle align it, and background if you want a little, you can just make that little slight, you know, like this kind of background where you can see the values, right? So you can see how they are varying and how much they are varying based upon year and all those things, right? Right. Suppose if I want to reorder the month, I can just go to calendar, select month name, right? Sort by column called as month. I can go to here. If I select month name, now you can see from January till October it is showing depending on this. It varies depending on the data. Okay. For this, if I uncheck, it will show me other things also. Right. So depending on that values, you can just customize. And what I can do is I can just turn off the background for it. And I can turn off the background for this as well. Right. So that you can see it can bring that appropriate values, right? So in this way, you can just customize this particular line chart just like this, and you can just keep varying the values, and you can just depending on the time values, you can just customize, right? Okay, let me bring few more things. For example, what I'll do is here we have different total visits we have calculated, right? Let me take a column chart. Okay, so in this column chart, let me bring total patients by length of stay. If you remember, I have created that length of stay group, right? So I can bring that into this particular chart or visualization, and I can bring total patients, right? So you can see this has high values because it is blank values where they are not admitted, right? So what I can do is I can go to filter. Okay, first let us format this. Let me click here, select this one, click on format painter. I can just click on here, it will format. Okay, this percentage terms, all those things you can just customize. I don't want this data, like of course I want this. What I can do is I select this length of stay, you can just uncheck this. Okay, this is one thing. Next thing is in this particular thing, okay, you don't require this particular details, right? You can turn it off. If you want, you can just bring it. Now what I can do is I can just sort the access based upon length of stay group and keep it in ascending order. It will be sorted in ascending order, right? So this could be some good insight to bring in. Similarly, you can just bring in multiple things. Okay, for example, I'll just copy this. Okay, so I'll just bring few more things here. I can have something called department type and visit type, right? In x-axis, I'll bring the department type into x-axis, and in the total, like in the values, I can bring something called as total visits from the measures. I can open that measure table, bring the total visits, right? And here, what I can do is in the legend, I can bring that visit type, right? Okay, visit type where it is, we can understand whether it is emergency or non-emergency, right? So emergency visit, I can bring that into legends. So we have respective values. You can see that whether it is emergency or non-emergency, you can see these values, right? And also you can customize other things. For example, here I have something related to insurance. Okay, something related to insurance, right? Which we have not used. So let me, there are only three things, right? So this thing, let us bring related to insurance. Okay, so there are nearly same values, right? And you can just even keep it like this also, it is fine. The total patients based upon the provider, there are like it is approximately nearby values, still you can understand, it will give some more better understanding of those things. Okay, now in order to visualize and bring some better output, what we can do is you can bring dynamic things, right? For example, in this particular thing, instead of only visits, what I can do is I can just bring all the values. How can I bring all the values? Instead of total visits, I can bring that line parameter, right? I can bring that line parameter so that whatever I select here, it will change this particular these values also, right? You can see that it will change those values also. Here it is not showing due to some reason because it is outpatient, right? Outpatient data is not visible over there. Just as an example, I'm just trying to show you. You can just customize like that if at all you want to keep it some similar values, right? Now, just few more things. How to calculate the percentage of emergency related things based upon that dynamically. Okay, I'll take few more minutes and just show you how to create that, using measure, and it will be useful for you. I'll just click on this particular measures per table, create a new measure. Now, as we switch on to that particular, values here, right? what we can do is we can just try to change the respective values or in percentage terms, right? So how do you calculate that percentage terms? For example, I'll write percentage non-emergency is equal to calculate. Okay, let me take a variable, and I'll call it as something called as total visits, right? And here what I'll do is I'll calculate total visits. Here visit type. Okay, we need visit type, right? We can take that emergency visit column, right? We have this emergency visit here. It is equal to something called as non-emergency. You can take this as underscore total outpatient. It is equal to calculate total outpatient, right? Here what we can do, we can just similarly write something called as visits emergency visit is equal to non-emergency. Let me create one more variable. Total admitted is equal to calculate total admitted is equal to total admitted, and we can calculate emergency visit is equal to non-emergency. Right, till here we are able to understand how to write that variables. Now you need to understand how to use that switch measure. Okay, so what I can do, I can create variable. I can write something called switch measure. Okay, how to switch that measures? I can write switch. Okay, here when the condition is true. Okay, and also in that line measures. Okay, we have line parameters, right? If you try to see that, we can write selected value. Okay, selected value. Here if I just take this line parameter order, right, if it is equal to 0, I need this to particular something called as total visits. Okay, if it is something related to selected value, and if the order it is equal to 1, I need something called as total outpatient. Otherwise what I want is total admitted, right? This is something where we are trying to create a variable for switching the measures, right? If that particular order which we select, for example, if this particular order which we select, if it is 0 visits, 1 it is outpatient, and 3rd it is admitted. Next we need to create a variable to switch something called variables itself. Okay, so how do we switch variables? I can write again a switch again a switch function, right? I can write that true condition, selected value. Here I can take this line order, right, parameter order. If it is equal to 0, then I want the total visit which I have written on the top, right? And similarly I can just copy this. If it is 1, I need to create something related to total outpatient. Okay, and if it is not, I'll create something called as total admitted. I can close this and write something called as switch variable, right? Now there is only one thing which we need to do based upon the condition. So before that what I'll do is, if I just try to return Okay, if I just try to return switch measure, I'll show you what happens. Okay, there is no underscore, right? I'll just only return switch measure. Okay, which here we have written switch measure, and I can just try to commit. Okay, so percentage emergency is written, but it is not percentage terms. I'll take a text card and show you what is happening. So here I'll just select it. You'll see that blank, right? Active diagnosis, not this one, right? You'll see this one. So here total visits is 5,000, right? If you click on outpatient, it is dynamically changing. It is 3768. Admitted, it is 1232. Okay, so this one now it is. I'm able to see that it is switching that particular variables appropriately like this. If I want to switch variables, what I can do is I need to write a if condition. Okay, if my I need to give a condition. If my switch variable, okay, it is less than switch measure, what I want, I need to divide, okay, switch variable with switch measure. Or else I'll just put it like, if it is something around 0, or else what I want is divide switch measure with variable. Again I put 0. Right, a simple if condition, you can write it. Now we can try to create multiple things like this for emergency also. Right, now if I just check this into particular, if I just click on this, if I just see this return, and I'll get it in percentage terms, right? If I just click on this percentage terms, you can see 63%. If I click on this, it is 61, and this is around total visits around 61. Okay, so this will change like this. Okay, in order to make it little more effective to see that, so what I can do is I can just keep it keep it little. I'll format it, remove the background, right? This is percentage non-emergency. I can just call out the value, reduce the size to maybe 25, right? So this is percentage non-emergency. Similarly, I can just try to bring something called percentage emergency. So how do I get percentage emergency? No need to write all this particular complete formula. Copy it, create a new measure, right? I can create something related to percentage emergency like this. I can select like this, press Ctrl Shift L. I can type something called emergency. It will bring the changes everywhere. Okay, so this is my percentage emergency, and I can just uncheck this and select this, and select this and change it to percentage terms. Okay, so one more thing to be noticed is you can just reduce this particular decimal values. Okay, if you want to keep these values in some uh, value of a pie chart kind of thing, so what I can do is I can subtract that remainder value. Okay, for example, if I can create one more measure, okay, I'll create something like percentage R emergency like this. Okay, so 1 minus, okay, percentage, I can bring that percentage emergency, it will give me the rest of the percentage. 1 means it is 100%. Okay, so percentage, I'll call it as remainder. If you call it as non-emergency one, you can take like something 1 minus non-emergency percentage. So why I brought this, I'll just show you. I'll just take this particular donut chart. Okay, so I can bring this percentage emergency here, and I can bring that R emergency also. Now you can see that only 37% is there, right? and I can just, what I can do is I can go to format, turn off the background, right? And what I can do is I can just try to turn off the title, turn off everything. Okay, turn off labels, detail labels, and everything. Only the slices, this one I'll just keep it same color. Okay, not same color, even little darker color. Okay, I can just try to little minimize this like this, and maybe a little bigger. Otherwise I can just keep it like this only, right? I can keep it like this, but what I can do is I can select this, send back. Now if I see this, you can see that particular percentage values like this, right? Similarly, what I can do is I can just copy it, not this one. What I'll take another donut chart. I can bring that non-percentage values also, right? For example, I'll just percentage non-emergency and reminder of it. This is complete 63%. Go to format, turn off everything, right? Slices, this thing, I'll just keep it like this, right? And background, I'll turn it off. You can just bring it like this, right? If you don't like it, you can just keep it very minimal like this. You can just keep it like this. It will look good, right? And you can just go to format, click on send to back, right? So in this way you can just customize these visuals. You'll be able to, represent it well. And I hope other things you can just try to gradually figure out, and in this way you can try to use multiple features and you can analyze multiple things, right? You can just still work in a lot of, on a lot of things on this data set, but it depends on you how we are trying to represent and how effectively are trying to represent. So this is all for today. You can, like, now you can create page navigator between these two pages and create some, headings and do some other formattings, right? Okay, so do anyone have any queries so far, whatever we have discussed?